Hey, it's Emily Reagan. On this YouTube channel, I help virtual assistants niche down into higher paid, highly prized marketing assistants. I love marketing because it gives you the most freedom when it comes to your schedule. You're not stuck to 9 to 5 office hours, and it is more primed to do higher paid project rates. There's a lot of opportunities in marketing these days. Sometimes by hiring contractors and becoming a micro agency or an agency is really the way to pull out of some of the work and build a business that scales beyond us without us having to do all of the work and be the face of the business. So my guest today is Tasha Booth, an agency owner, coach, and podcaster. She's the founder and CEO of the Launch Guild, very well known for their launch services. They're a full launch support agency. They work with established coaches and course creators. And she also helps virtual assistants, launch managers, and agency owners grow their businesses with this agency model. Before we jump in, hit subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on another episode and learn how to provide exceptional services and grow a profitable digital service business, all while working from home. I also have more freebies below in the show description. You can find a link to my Facebook group to continue the conversation. We also share job postings over there and additional trainings. And make sure you download my top 10 marketing tasks that I started with as a marketing service provider. You can grab these tasks, offer them in your business as a service, and go to town. All right, let's jump in. I have so many questions for you about agencies, but a lot of them want to know, like, how do I start? How do I know I'm ready? But also, why would they even want to do this?
Yeah. So I know that for a lot of people, agencies normally grow out of lack of capacity, right? So we no longer have capacity as solopreneurs. We now have either decided that we want to increase our capacity by having a team or want to decrease what we personally have to do and be able to still increase our income. For me, it was a combination of those things. And it more so was the fact that, number one, I really love people and I didn't want to work alone anymore.
So who was the first person you hired? And did you go straight to like other contractors, or like tell me how that worked?
I tell people all the time, do not do what I did with my first hire, because I made all the mistakes that I'm now like, don't do any of that, right? So when I first started my agency, I was doing a lot of Pinterest management. And so my first, yeah, you too. So my first person that I hired was actually another Pinterest manager. And the reason I say don't do what I did was because I literally just like put out into like Facebook groups, like, hey, I'm looking for a Pinterest manager. If you do Pinterest, like send me a DM, right? So there was no like application. Like it was basically like, hey, I'm looking for the first like warm body that like messages me and I will like pay you. And what I realized back then was that not just because like I didn't hire correctly or right, but also like I was so overwhelmed with client work that I didn't have the time to support that person in like truly understanding like how we work, how we do things, like what my business actually was. So it was all of those things that I now teach don't do.
Do you completely let go of the client work? Like, I have so many questions about that because it's also people hired me because they wanted me.
That is something that I hear all the dang time. And what I say to everyone is the fact that, like, yes, people hired you because they wanted you. But the reason that they wanted you is because you have created a process that works, that is a repeatable process that gets people the results that they're looking for. And so that repeatable process is actually the reason that they hired you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So what do you say when you are like selling your services to the client?
So one of my big things is like my whole framework is called the me to we framework, right? And the reason that it is that is because I truly believe that we have to start moving from me languaging in terms of we languaging from the very beginning. So by the time somebody gets on a discovery call with me, they fully know that we are an agency. They fully know that they're not going to be working with me directly, because from like our social media, anytime like you go on our website, any of those things is all about like my team, we, our, also the thing that a lot of agency owners do incorrectly that sets them up for failure with that whole like moving from a me to a we is that they don't make their team members the spotlight. They're afraid that clients are going to just like hire the team members instead, right? My team members are all on the website. I talk up all of my team members on social media all the dang time. And so when my clients get on the call with me, they're like, oh my gosh, your team sounds amazing. Yeah, because they are. And you're going to be working with them and you're going to be so excited about that.
Yeah. So do you make your teammate like the point person? Like,
Yeah.
who's the one dealing with the client? And is there a way to phase it in from somebody who's just starting?
Yeah, so our launch managers are the primary points of contact
Okay.
for all of our clients. So they are between our launch strategist who kind of like creates the launch strategy. Then she hands the baton off to the launch project manager. That person is doing the weekly calls, is making sure that everything is on track, is doing the project setup, is interacting with all the other team members for the launch team. So my clients after the discovery call, they get a couple emails from me. I may pop into meetings just to say, "Hey, how's it going?"
Yeah.
But like I am not in 90% of
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And it is fantastic. And they still get great results. They still have a great, rapport with all of our team members and everything. It doesn't have to be me to be successful.
So is there anything else that only you should be doing when it comes to having an agency? Because I mean, you're not doing the client work anymore, which is like everyone's like dream, right?
Right. And people are often like, well, then if you're not doing client like work, like what are you doing during your day? When you fully sit in that CEO seat, number one, the cash flow part of it is, and the what do I need to do in order to make sure that we have the cash flow to keep this agency consistent, that is going to be a huge part. So marketing, lead generation, visibility, sales, all the things that I'm doing throughout the day. But also that visionary piece of it requires a lot of spaciousness so that you have the brain space to be creating and holding that vision, right? And leading that vision. And then also mentoring my team from behind.
So I was just
Yeah.
thinking about that, how hard it is, because I know it's hard for me personally because I have like this high level of, I don't know, let's just call it perfectionism, but I like things done well. I do.
Mhm.
I truly do. And so it's hard to let things go. Was that hard when it came to the work, or is that once you have solid SOPs and you trust the right person and the right person is hired, is it easy?
I think it depends on the person. For me, it was easy because I really enjoy supporting people in the way that I get to support my team. I know that for a lot of the people that I coach with agency ownership, it's harder for them because, like you said, the perfectionism comes in. And when we start off as service providers, like moving from serving and supporting our clients to serving and supporting our team can be a very difficult transition. However, I think it's not a matter of just like being like, oh, you're hired and you're great at what you do now, like you're all good, right? It's a
Yeah.
matter of checking in, and like part of that support of the team members is letting them know when they've missed the mark and letting them know why they've missed the mark and how they can do it better in the future.
So I want to bring up the freebie right now that you have about the Agency Owner's Guide to Impactful Meetings. Tell everyone about that and like maybe like your best tip when it comes to running that agency owner meeting.
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that is the secret sauce for our agency specifically is that we do have team meetings and we have them consistently. And we have different types of team meetings depending on the need. But what I did in this freebie and this opt in was to kind of classify it into 10 different types of team meetings and what the goal of the meeting is and what you should be covering in those meetings and also the time length. With teams that don't see each other's faces very often, I know that like my team flourishes when we see each other's faces, when we can see each other's smiles, when we can hear each other's voices, and that's important. And so we have those team meetings once a week, 15 minutes most of the time tops, but it's just an opportunity to really gel as a team.
There's got to be different like types or models. And I
Mhm.
feel like there's got to be a level of, I don't know, some services that are more profitable than others. Like, I feel like we need to touch on profit margins and how to keep the reins in on our first teammate.
That is such a great question. And I think a big part of it is I always talk about, I believe in paying for the role and not the region. So I'm a huge proponent of paying people well, regardless of where they live in the entire world. And with that, I also believe that we have to treat our business like a business. And so
Mhm.
what that means for me is that you have to look at your business and say, what can my business afford to pay for this role? When we think about that in terms of agency ownership, we have to think about the fact that these people are subcontractors within our business. And so a lot of what they would be doing if they found the client themselves, if they had to market for the client themselves, all of those things are not happening. So what I see a lot of times with newer agency owners is that they are paying $60, $70, $100 an hour for these subcontractors. And then they're like, well, I'm not making any money. Well, I can tell you why, right? So the first thing that I have a lot of people do, especially if their agencies are newer, is a cost analysis. Like, for example, I would look at our signature service, which is full service launch management, right? I would look at that service and say, if I were to take myself 100% out of it, who would I need? How much would I potentially be paying each one of these people? What would the number of hours they would be working monthly for this? And then I look at these would be my team costs. So not anything else. And then I'm basing my pricing off of that plus what I need to pay myself, plus my overhead and taxes. And that is what I end up charging the client. Our agency is going to be more expensive than if you were hiring somebody like, on their own. Most likely, yes. But you also have to think about, what am I bringing to the table as an agency that I couldn't necessarily do as a solopreneur?
So what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that agencies face right now with this economy?
So what I'm hearing from a lot of people is that businesses slow down across the board. Also, this is the reason that I have actually been talking about micro agencies more, because I think with micro agencies, the benefit is that even when business slows down, if you only have an agency of maybe 3 to 5 people, you're probably still going to have enough work to keep them motivated to be working with you. Whereas if you have an agency of 20 and business slows way down, all of a sudden you have to start having those harder conversations, making those harder decisions about who to keep and who to let go and what to do with that. So I'm seeing that with the current economy, agency owners just having to really be out there and be present and not just rely on referrals as well. I have been talking a lot more about like marketing and lead generation and visibility this year than ever before, because I think that for a while we were all kind of maybe sitting on our laurels a little bit too much and being like, oh, the referrals always, feed my pipeline. Well, that may not be good enough anymore. So we may need to do a little bit more marketing than we're used to or we feel comfortable with.
Do you have any suggestions on niches that work well? I mean, I know you've coached a lot of agency owners. What's working? What's hot right now?
I think anything that involves specific tech is always going to be something that is hot and that is needed, because the reality is with any economy, people still have needs and there are still going to be things that people cannot do themselves or don't feel like it makes the most sense economically for them to do themselves. And so if you can be a specialist in something where people feel like the learning curve is too high for them to do themselves, it's always going to be a place where you can find work and find a place in the market.
Who would be like maybe our first hires in a support role?
So when we're building out our org chart, my suggestion is always your operations assistant, probably the first or one of the first people that you hire. And then the next person is who can be that first implementer that comes and starts taking things off of your plate.
What would be like the first step I need to do to start an agency?
The first step is to what I like to call agencyfy your offers. And that is just productizing your offers in terms of all of the things swirling around in your brain, your signature process that you've created. It needs to start being documented in some way. And then hiring that first person that can either support you internally, like an ops assistant, or support you with the client work is going to be that first step for you.
I love it. I support that wholeheartedly. Okay, there's so much more to learn about agencies. We have a full episode over on my podcast, Unicorns Unite. You can find that link below in the description. It is a full hour-long episode, so there's a lot we cut out for this YouTube video, but we wanted to give you the head start into what you need to know to start an agency and run it profitably. Don't overhire like Tasha suggests. Make sure you download my freebies in the description, and make sure you download Tasha's freebie, The Agency's Owner Guide to Impactful Meetings. Never show up to another Zoom meeting without an agenda. Take this and apply it to your current clients even before you become an agency. All right, I hope you love this video. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and I'll see you soon.